Welcome to the Project Production Institute's 7th Annual Symposium, Digitalize and Industrialize Construction. What does it mean and how to do it? I'm Edward Pound, the Executive Director of the Project Production Institute, and we're glad you're here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have hundreds of folks from all over the world joining us, and we have a great day planned. Of course, we hope that you, your family, and your associates are all avoiding the worst effects of the coronavirus pandemic and this new normal. Even though it's a new normal, work on our infrastructure and engineering, construction, and capital projects doesn't stop. It's interesting because what's happened with the new normal and the pandemic is it's driven or accelerated actually the drive to find new ways to work. And that also has inspired the topics for today's symposium about digitalization and industrialization of construction. So if you think about it, the Industrial Revolution started about the late 1700s and resulted in massive changes to society, helped us understand how delivery of and production of products and services could be described as production systems, mass production, but just that basic understanding of production systems. And then you have the production systems as opposed to just craft industries, which existed at the time. And then you have the digital revolution, which started with the invention of the transistor back in 1947. And it's had profound effects also on the way we live and work. From the computer age to the Internet of Things. And now we have artificial intelligence, and we have quantum computing, robotics. There's just massive changes going on, and it's had tremendous productivity improvements across vast numbers of industries, except there's one exception. Construction, which is a huge contributor to the world economy, counts for 13% of the world's GDP, according to the McKinsey Global Institute's report. And the problem has been that those productivity gains that we've seen in other industries haven't occurred in construction, with the sector having, in the last 20 years, just a 1% annual growth in productivity. Actually, we have data at the Project Production Institute, which shows this problem goes back much further, over 100 years. Same thing with productivity problems in construction. It's a challenge. And so that resulted actually in the founding of the Project Production Institute. The idea is that there's some gap in understanding of how projects work. And that's driving the constant poor project delivery we see with projects being over budget and behind schedule. And the founders realized that that was a problem and came upon a solution. So the Project Production Institute exists to increase the value that engineering and construction provides to the economy and to a society, to address that gap, to improve the way we live and work. And it's for those who design and deliver capital projects. And that means you, all of you folks who are joining us today. We're glad you're here. And so we've got a group of people who've realized there's a gap. They're onto a solution that's been proven over hundreds of projects, and they're joining efforts to try and bring that to other industries and other capital projects. It's taken notice in the construction press, Engineering News Record, as part of its March webinar, listed project production management, or PPM, as a top project delivery trend transforming the industry. Over at the Construction Users Roundtable, in their Voice magazine, they described project production management as an innovative method for improving the efficiency and effectiveness of capital project delivery without focusing just on productivity. Now that's kind of curious because there's a lot of focus on productivity, but there'll be more of that in the discussions later on from industry experts and your peers. There's also a number of people who are not just talking about it and thinking about it. These are people who are pioneers and out there doing it. And so we've got a lot of contributions from our industry council. We have companies from all over the world, leading companies, companies that you've heard of like Chevron, Saudi Aramco, Shell, the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, and IBM, Microsoft, Google, Roche, McKinsey and Company, and BCG, Dassault Systems. These are companies that you've heard of. These people recognize there needs to be a transformation. They've applied these concepts in practice and are working to promote it to their peers. As a matter of fact, there's been a concentration request. This was from industry. Said, well, this is great that this works across all different industries. I want to work on it just for my industry. And so we've had industry working groups formed. The energy working group is up and running. We're working with Lisa Ellis, who's an expert in shipbuilding and ship repair, to establish a working group for that industry. And another one that we're working on at the moment is also one for general building. We would welcome your participation. If people are interested, please send us a note, contact us at the Project Production Institute. We'd love to have you on board. We also obviously publish on topics of industry interest. This article was published in August about supply chains and COVID-19. Just recently republished, we published this article on Agile and its application to capital projects. Another forum we have is web conferences, where we bring together industry experts to talk about the issues that are pertinent to the engineering and construction industry. This one was on project objectives during COVID-19. Had one on supply chain resiliency in COVID-19, work-phase planning, CPM scheduling. And if you ever heard of earned value management, any interest in that, stay tuned. That's going to be our January 2020 presentation or web conference, sorry. We also do research. This area is new. And so we have to do a lot of the research on our own. And we have, you see here, the pictures of our technical committee led by Dr. Mark Spearman. We are working on the theory and application of project production management. We also worked with leading academic institutions. If you're watching and you're from an academic institution and would like to join us, please contact us. We would love to talk about collaboration. There are also students out there who want to learn about the new trends as they enter their careers in engineering and construction. And we're working with universities to provide instruction in project production management. We've delivered a class at Cal Poly on advanced project management and delivery, also doing the same thing with Stanford at the Center for Integrated Facility Engineering, SIFE. These are for senior, well, at Stanford is for graduate level students, but again, working on the theory and application of project production management. Now, if you're not interested in going back to college to get your degree, don't worry, we have got something for you too. We're working on development of certification programs at Stanford SIFE, also at Cal Poly, and also with the guys over at Texas A&M. Also, PPI delivers seminars, both in-house and public seminars across the world. Information of those is available on our website. If you're interested in those, contact us also. And then we have, if you're interested in getting to understand and lay out your project production system on your own, go to the PPI website and go to resources and tools, and we have free software that's available, the Project Production Mapper. Okay, so that's enough about the Project Production Institute. I know you're waiting to hear from your peers and the experts who are going out there and experience this industry transformation. So let's switch real quick and go to, if you're wandering around today and lose your place and want to know where you should be, just go to our website, click on the symposium banner, wait for the internet, and then that comes up, and down here at the bottom, you'll see schedule, okay? And then schedule shows, it has the links to the different sessions. All right, so we're in the welcoming and opening remarks, quickly going to move to an achievement award and call to action. And then Anil Seth is going to provide keynote on the neuroscience of decision making. We have a short break, and then we move into the heart of the day. We have two periods, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. The morning, both periods have two parallel sessions. In the morning, one of the sessions is how leading companies implement and benefit from project production management. If you're completely new to project production management, I encourage you to go to this particular session, and this is going to be from the experts who are out there doing it, talking about their understanding and their struggles. And it will be focused in the morning on design and engineering, and then the parallel discussion that's going on. Okay, so people talk about this Internet of Things and sensors and how I'm going to connect the digital thread to my construction site, and what does all that mean? Well, they're experts who are going to talk about what that means and how you might do that. There's a break during the middle of the day, and then we move to the afternoon, where we have another PPM session, this time focusing on supply and construction. And then the parallel session there is about industrialization of construction. We hear about modularization, we hear about offshore, we hear about automation. What are those challenges and how to address them? And then finally, at the end of the day, you've heard all these concepts, you've heard about PPM, you've heard about industrialization, you've heard about digitization. How does that all fit with what you're doing now, right? You might be doing work-based planning or agile or something like that. We've got a panel where people who have had feet in both worlds are going to describe their impressions and how they got started and take your questions. All right, so that's the day. Looking forward to having everybody here. We're going to move now to presentation of our Achievement Award. And James, take it away. Dr. James Chu.
Thank you, Ed. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's a great honor to be presenting this year's PPI Achievement Award. Each year, PPI recognizes contributions and thought leadership in the area of project production management. And the award is presented at the annual symposium. The past award winner recipients have included academics and practitioners. So we actually have been providing some to the academics and some practitioners, and here are the pictures. Okay. All of these recipients have been recognized for their significant contribution to the development of project production management and operations science theories, as well as their leadership in delivering tremendous value through the application. This year, this prestigious award goes to Dr. Phil Kaminsky. Dr. Kaminsky is the L.J. Isaac Professor in the Science and Analysis of Decision-Making in the Department of Industrial Engineering and Operations Research at UC Berkeley. He's currently on industrial leave at Amazon as a principal research scientist. Prior to his leave, he served as Executive Associate Dean and Associate Dean for Student Affairs in the UC Berkeley College of Engineering. Professor Kaminsky's research focused primarily on the analysis and development of robust and efficient tools and techniques for design, operations, and risk management in logistics and systems and supply chains. Specifically, some of his work related to PPM can be found in PPI journal available on our website. One interesting fact to note is that Professor Kaminsky took one of Dr. Mark Spearman's course, who actually was another award winner, during his master's and PhD at Northwestern University. And I, fortunately, took my first industrial engineering course from Dr. Kaminsky. So thank you. So Dr. Kaminsky joins us from El Cerrito, California to give us his acceptance speech. Over to you, Phil.
Thank you very much, James, and thank you, Ed, and really thanks to everybody associated with PPI. This is really a wonderful honor and very unexpected. A few days ago, when, when James called and said, "I'm outside of your house," and I looked out and he was outside with his mask on, and I came outside and he presented me with this award in a socially distanced way. It was really a big surprise and a wonderful honor. When I first started working with PPI many years ago, I'd spent my whole career working on supply chain systems and logistics systems, but I really hadn't until then thought about how these concepts applied to project and project production. And it's really been an incredible journey learning about projects and working with many of the people associated with PPI to, to learn about these systems, to understand their connections with other supply chain systems, and to work together to understand how we could improve the performance of these systems. It's also been incredibly rewarding seeing so many of the firms associated with PPI go on this project production management journey and really learn how these systems work. It's really so let me not go too long, but again, thank you so much to everybody associated with PPI for this award, and more importantly, I think for the opportunities you've given me and from what you've taught me. And I'm looking incredibly forward to seeing what the future of this collaboration holds. So thank you again.
Thanks, Phil. Really appreciate it. I've enjoyed all the work you've done, and I'm sure you're going to serve as an inspiration for future Achievement Award winners who are hopefully listening right now.
Thanks.
All right, so now we're going to move to a quick call to action. And this is going to be delivered by the one and only Gary Fisher. Gary's a 40-year veteran of design, delivery, and control of capital projects, and he's chair of PPI's Energy Working Group. He's also a leading contributor at PPI, and also he likes to throw a line or two out there in the Colorado mountains fly fishing. So Gary, over to you.
Great. Good morning. Let me add my welcome and thank you all for tuning in to this year's Action Pack Symposium. You know, as I spoke to the symposium last year, I could have never imagined in my wildest dreams 2020. Talk about uncontrolled variability. You know, the economic impact of the global pandemic is one of those things you read about in a book, but holy cow, we could have never imagined it would happen to us. We've had to adjust in all kinds of imaginable ways. Businesses have had to do the same. Think about long haul truckers who had to social distance from a second driver and the impact that had on those companies' supply chain. Think about how to manage COVID and a remote camp workforce and dealing with all the issues there. You know, think about all the disruptions in the supply chain for our projects. You know, I personally am still waiting on the roofing material for a small addition. I have a small house project I have going on. So here we are today. A lot has changed in the industry and some things haven't changed. If you look across the construction industry and in the energy sector, price support for the energy sector has basically collapsed, driving a huge change in the industry with the expectation that prices will recover as demand recovers as we move through this COVID time. Pharmaceuticals are at all-time high demand and major investments are being made. Digital continues to go gangbusters, and so major investments in data centers. And then infrastructure is surprisingly strong, even with the impacts of COVID, but in many ways driving for the cutting edge of efficiency. Many companies right now are rethinking their project management systems. We see a growing trend towards offsite and automated production. And we see things called factory models popping up all over the place, even though I'm pretty sure folks don't really understand what those factories are, and there's no science sitting behind those factories. There's a lot of swirl going on. But there is some good news. This is a little survey that McKinsey did of CEOs or executives associated with companies in the construction industry. And the good news is that, like on the left-hand side there, 62% of executives in the construction industry think that things are going to change. We got to pick up the pace of change. And 53% said they're increasing their investment to adapt to a new future. So with that kind of transformation in mind, what if projects were predictable? We could improve schedules by 30 to 50%, reduce our costs 20 to 50%, improve our financials by 50%. Heck, with Chevron, I would have just been thrilled with the first one, just having predictable results. Let me explain. Let's go to the next slide. Near the end of my career, was given the privilege to completely overhaul Chevron's project management system, which we did by pulling together all the best of the best, all the practices from our successful projects. We adhered closely to the advice we got from benchmarking. And if we didn't have a great process, we went and borrowed it from somebody else. I was really proud of it. It was world-class. And the company we benchmarked, Independent Project Analysis, even told us we had a best-in-class project system. And then I had the unusual and unique experience to be left in the role long enough to see if it worked. Well, after a bit of runtime, we did this benchmarking through Independent Project Analysis, and the results are pretty sobering. Look at that. Like on the 9% of the industry projects in upstream, and these were projects in 2010, met cost, schedule, and attainment. Only 9%. You know, that was a bitter pill for me to swallow. Chevron's data were a little better than that, so made me feel a little bit better, but still, that was not a recipe for financial success. On the next slide, you know, at first I thought, oh, it's just this poor performance is because our people just didn't follow the process. You know, after all, as the architect of that process, I knew it was really good. And we had all the SMEs that supported it, and a lot of really good brain power. It just had to be good. But after some deep research in the roots of project management, historical practices, and then we experimented with some different practices, I came to realize instead it was actually the project process itself and the practices that we had associated with it that was driving our poor performance. Wow. Regardless of how hard we tried, our poor performance was guaranteed. Now, I can't tell you, that was kind of a bitter pill to swallow. It was hard to get my head around. It probably took me like 2 years to get my head around that. Now you could be sitting there kind of smug and thanking yourselves that you're not in the energy sector. You don't have that kind of results. But I just could have easily used any data from any sector represented by the attendees in this conference, and we'd have basically the same story. This is not an energy sector issue. It's a construction industry issue because our current practices are all based on the same foundation. We all build schedules thinking it's a plan. We all expect contractors to just figure out how to do the work. The list goes on and on. And it is, Ed pointed out in his opening remarks, you know, achieving project objectives remains elusive for all of us. So obviously things need to change. We just can't wish ourselves to better performance. You know, one thing this reminded me of, every time we'd form a new project team, there was high optimism. And I called it the wishful thinking stage of the project. We'd assemble, the team would assemble lessons learned from other similar projects. They would almost chant, we're going to do this one right. We can get this one right. They were determined not to let all those bad things happen to them that happened to other projects. Or better yet, they aren't going to be as stupid as those other projects and let those, do those stupid things. Does that sound familiar to anybody here? So if you want real change, transformational change that delivers results, then you've come to the right place. Today is your day. We're here to talk about project production management, which is simply operation science applied in the project world, and it delivers the kind of results we just talked about in the what if slide. Here are just a few examples. Not going to read these in detail, but you can read the headlines there. Impact, bottom line impact. And wherever I've seen project production management used, I was in Chevron, and now I get to look across the industry, which is really exciting. We see predictability, improved predictability. We see schedule improvement. We see cost reduction. We see improved financial returns. It's a consistent theme and no surprising. And it's really not surprising once you understand it. So when I say project production management, this is what I'm talking about. It's a very simple framework. At its bullseye in that center part is operational science. That's the foundation. That's the science that governs production systems. Projects are production systems. And that gray circle there is really the heart and soul of project production management. It's around creating a production plan, a project production plan, and then controlling it and improving it. So it's a circular kind of thing. And so it's all around designing and then controlling a project production system through three simple things: production modeling, computer-assisted project engineering or concurrent engineering, and then project production control. It's all about pulling the 5 levers that define how a production system is going to behave. It's about putting the job of planning back into the hands of the people that are actually doing the work. It's about optimizing the whole, the flow of production through a project instead of sub-optimizing the parts and expecting the sub-optimized parts put together to be a great project. They're not. It's about getting focused on how the work is going to be done. And you're going to learn about all these things today and how they've been put into action by the people that are on the front lines. So specifically today, you're going to hear about how we make decisions, how leading companies benefit from the use of project production management, how digital is changing delivery of capital projects, how methods and technologies from high volume manufacturing can be effectively applied to deliver capital projects, and how PPM fits with other project management solutions. But I want to leave you before I wrap here with one final thought. After retiring from Chevron and now getting to look at the whole across the whole construction industry, I see a growing wave of interest. It's a tsunami out there. The time is right. The time is right to transform the construction industry with the methods that deliver results. And you have a choice to make. Every one of you attending this have a personal choice to make. You can be curious, explore the possibilities, be willing to experiment, willing to learn new things, open your mind, especially longer in your career. It seems like it's harder to learn new things. Or you can play it safe. Hang on to what you already know, even though you know deep down it doesn't work. And if you do that, I'm sorry to say you're going to get left behind. So only you can make the call. Are you going to get on board and into a place to a better future, or are you going to stay on that platform and watch other people get to a better place in the future? So thank you very much, and make the most of the day.